Jeannie, for years, you have inspired me in worship. Tell us a bit of your story. How'd you grow up? What was your life like?
I grew up in the desert, which I really liked. I lived in a little cabin in Mojave Desert, and I just loved the wild and the wind and the open sky and the quietness of it. I really liked that part of my life. And that was up until I was around 8, and then things started to change. I started seeing that there wasn't something right with the world, with the way my family lived and my parents lived. I was isolated from every human being on the planet, just with my brothers and sisters. My parents hid us from the world because alcohol affected their thinking. It was very, very hard for me. Just to be confined in that area with no air, no open sky. And I'm part Cherokee, and the rest of my family, they kind of didn't pick up those traits. I think I'm the only one that really had the traits. They had more of the German traits, but I had this different way. And I was so different than my family. I just felt so alone, like absolutely, completely alone. The only place that I could go where I would feel like me was to that God that I felt and knew was there in the desert. And then it kind of went from bad to worse. Then we moved into a 25-foot trailer, all 8 of us. And it was a whole year in there without going outside. Oh, and I should tell you that if people would come over, me and my sister, we'd have to dive under the bed, or we'd have to run and hide in a closet. And a couple times quite a few times we were put in boxes to hide from people that came over. And that really messed with my identity as a person. I started thinking that I wasn't real. Because a human being, they wouldn't live like that. They wouldn't be treated like that. And so I've thought of other people as real, but I wasn't real. And so I'd even say, oh, I did that just like a real person. Like that was my mindset. And in later years, that would cause me a lot of pain.
When we talked before, you described the night where in some ways your life was changed, when you called out to God.
Oh, yeah. I was a Christian, I think, for about 8 years. And, it was really good, but there was all this stuff inside of me, this baggage. And I think I could boil it down to just a few words. It's called self-hatred. And so I got into this cycle that I just absolutely would hear voices in my head telling me I was garbage. You're garbage. You don't deserve to live. And I don't know why it caused me so much pain. And again, one night, after 8 years of being a Christian and having a lot of amazing things happen, it got so heavy. All the kids were asleep, Ken was asleep, and I went crawling into the laundry room. I could barely breathe because the pain was so intense. And I just felt the end was near. I felt it was over, that they had won. And I felt this presence just crossing a line. And out of my mouth came, Jesus, I love you. And then it was the strangest thing, Brian, because all of a sudden I could move my arms. I sat up and I went, what is this? And then I tasted freedom for the first time in my life.
And now as we get to know your story, realize you've gone from being, in a sense, a prisoner, somebody who was confined against your will, to this experience of freedom in God.
He just came with that key and clink, and threw the door wide open.
Yeah.
And now I'm in wide open spaces.
Yes.
And I'm allowed to be me. I mean, that's huge. And if you could sum up, I think my life in one sentence, it would be like that song, Jesus be my lifelong passion. And that's why I live every single day, and it never leaves me. Oh, it's just so good.
Oh.